Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. 20th July was a day which nobody had thought. The scale and the magnitude at which people came out on the street against the Modi government. In fact, in the last 12 years, we've never seen a protest which spilled outside Jantar Mantar, in and around that area. In fact, the protesters out the parliament almost from all sides, to the extent that the MPs who were inside parliament, because it happened to be the first day of the monsoon session, those MPs were locked up because the security personnel had locked the gates of parliament. Now these are the drone shots which everyone is talking about. This wasn't a day which Modi government, or for that matter any one of us, would have ever thought that this is the kind of scene which is going to play out on the streets of Delhi. It started right early morning after so many days of fast and protest. And the way Cockroach Janta Party organized this, you almost saw that this was a very organic sort of a collection of people whom you see. Now, the police brutalities is something which people are talking about. You could see the lathi charge. You could see the tear gas shells being lobbed at these youths. You could also see visuals of how the police personnel inside the parliament, when they came to know that apparently the protesters might storm inside parliament, they started training the guns at the youths. I saw visuals where the barriers had current, so that if the youths cross those barriers, they get electrocuted. I saw visuals like these. So what would one say? And as we are going live, what you see on the streets are the pictures from Jantar Mantar. And just a short while back, Abhijit Dipke, the Cockroach Party founder, has addressed the people. They are saying that they will continue with this hunger strike. Sonam Wangchuk has said that because of the police brutalities, he will also continue with the hunger strike. And what Abhijit Dipke has said, that they've made it look like North Korea. And he got emotional while he was speaking at Jantar Mantar after the Lathi charge. Now, how will this movement now culminate? What I'm told is that the police has dismantled the stage where all the protesters were sitting at Jantar Mantar. That spot has been that site has been dismantled. What I'm also told is that the police people in plain clothes, they are walking in with the lathis. Apparently, again, one can expect a major crackdown even tonight if the protesters go back to the site. So what is going to be the end goal of this movement? How will it culminate? What should the political party, especially the opposition, should be doing when they see such a strong sentiment of the youths against the Modi government? In fact, just to share an experience with you, today I was traveling in a metro because I had some work, and I was traveling for a long distance inside the train. And in and around those stations like Mandi House, Khan Market, then Central Secretariat. Now, these were the stations on which the people were boarding the metro train after the Jantar Mantar protest was over, because there were many parents, many children who were going back to the places, and they raised slogans inside the metro train. And this was something which really amazed me. And I could sense that genuine anger in the people, because there were no political parties present inside the metro train. There were common people who were going to their destinations, and they were talking against Modi government, that Prime Minister Modi will not do anything. These youths are investing so much of energy. What will it end into? We're very worried about the future of our students. These are the kind of comments which I heard from the worried parents, from the youths who were traveling and who had participated in the Jantar Mantar. In fact, there were many parents who said that, this would have been our biggest mistake had we not gone to Jantar Mantar. There were parents also who spoke like this. So what we are going to discuss is that what is going to be the final destination of this movement. Joining me this evening is former IPS officer, former Central Information Commissioner, and former secretary to the government of India. Thank you so much. Yashwardhan Azad joins us. Thank you so much, Mr. Azad, for joining. We have Pushpraj Deshpande, who's an author and policy expert. And I'm going to begin with Mr. Azad. Police brutality is something which is being talked about. Sarvesh Tripathi also joins us, Samajwadi Party spokesperson. And he was also one of those people who was present at Jantar Mantar throughout the day, because I was in touch with him, talking to him. So I could sense that he was there throughout the day. So we'll hear a lot of things what have happened. But let me begin with Mr. Azad. Uh, what would you say to the police brutalities, lathi charging, lobbing tear gas shells? I think that's common in the police practice. But using current for the barriers so that your youths get electrocuted if they cross the barriers? Is this something which is quite inane, has never been heard before?
I think, Neelu, you're focusing on just one aspect of police brutality. That is, tell me any protest of this kind, where has the tear gas shell not been used? Where has the lathi charge not been done? Tell me, how do you control a crowd of this? And I'm not supporting, by the way, either the Delhi police or the government. I'm not doing that.
I know
But
that,
what
yeah.
do you do? I mean, suppose you don't. What would have happened? You know what would have happened. Now the question is, now we have to now discuss this in a particular setting. The government does not want to negotiate. What do you do? The government gave a kind of a meeting ground for the people to talk to Mr. Nadda. What authority does Mr. Nadda have? Nothing. The whole
Exactly.
question is of resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. Now, if any government would have gone to the site and talked to those people, that was the best way to handle the situation. That is number one. Number two, for Sonam Wanchuk, instead of putting him in in a chadar and then lumping him in an ambulance, a doctor could have easily examined him 8 hourly, which we normally do at the site itself if he doesn't want to go, right? The 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 protest was constitutional, so there was nothing need to have been done. Now, when we come to today, the first thing what has happened was that the government never realized, the intelligence agencies also never realized that this kind of a spontaneous movement will bring these huge numbers. And you can ask Tripathi ji and Mr. Deshpande also that because my own daughter flew from Bangalore. I was shocked. My own niece traveled all the way and was there. My friends' wives, they were ringing me up and they said, "Is 144 in place? I'm going to this place." So this kind of a movement, the government was caught absolutely unawares. They didn't know what to do, and neither did they want to negotiate, and they wanted to just brazen it out. Somehow they felt कि हाँ भाई ये तो इसमें there's no opposition party involved, there is no ideology involved. But that's exactly what the strength of the movement was, that it was not by any political party, no colors, nothing. And that's why the people joined,
No,
and
but
they
Mr.
joined.
Azad, when you see this kind of a crowd, which is so unprecedented, and nobody has seen, at least in the last 12 years. I think the last crowd of this scale where we saw was during the Anna Hazare movement in 2011, and that's when the protesters spilled out of the Jantar Mantar area. And at that time, of course, the protest happened at Ramlila Maidan. But what should the government be doing according to you? Because the only thing they did was ask Saurabh Das and Ashutosh Ranka to come and meet Mr. JP Nadda, as you rightly said, that JP Nadda, what is he going to do? So didn't the government want to avert this kind of a situation, or they still thought that no, we'll ask the protesters or their leaders to come and meet Mr. JP Nadda and the story will be over?
See, when you talk about the Anna agitation, remember that Mr. Kejriwal had political aspirations, though he didn't want to say anything, but he had political aspirations, right? I would say this movement was more like Nirbhay movement, which was there, and it was
Okay.
spontaneous. People came to India Gate, and look at the kind of movement it was there. It was again with the youngsters, the women. So it was very, very strong. This movement has created such an important sort of a milestone, as you rightly said, in the 12 year, that it has gone beyond Nadda or Dharmendra Pradhan, and now they are talking about the current government. Now, what should the government do? The government should have easily brought them to the negotiations because they are asking about a factum of life. The factum of life is that there is a college, there is a degree, but there is no job. There is an economy, but there is heavy unemployment. There is a social stratification which has reached a point where it needs a lot of healing. So if the youngsters are upset about this, then the government needs to come and answer these questions, because these questions are being answered by everyone. But the approach which is seen is, unfortunately, here was a chance for the government to deal across the table and tell them that this is what we are trying to do. After all, what did they say? They agreed ultimately that we are even willing to meet the minister. And it was not a wrong ask that Pradhan should resign. Pradhan should resign anyway. That it won't matter at all, because the next guy will be also like this, is another matter. Because I feel it makes no difference, because there are a lot of other ministers. What will you do about ethanol? What will you do about the care fund? What will you do about the GST, which a poor man pays 18%, nowhere in the world? So there are too many issues. So if the government doesn't want to do anything, it wants to brazen out. It's the kind of a hubris कि हाँ भाई ये तो कुछ लोग हैं, it will sort of fizzle off. So that is why it's a very, very important thing. And last thing which I would say is this has blown the myth of the extremely powerful mammoth government, presence and winning of elections and again. It shows that no, there are people also. After all, you have 37% or whatever, 42% people voting for you, but there are others too. You need to listen to them, take them on board. And that's the message which I felt was extremely, necessary. I wish the Delhi police had not done lathi charge. I wish the Delhi police had not fired the tear gas shells. But then, it was a crowd. You can't allow, of course, Parliament House to be, barricaded or moved. So it was an unfortunate move, but I thought it will happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you rightly said, I think today's what we saw today, Modi's fortress, I think today was breached. Whether they accept or not, but the fortress has been breached. But Mr. Azad, a quick answer from you, and then Mridula Mukherjee, renowned historian, has also joined us on the show. Thank you so much, Mridula ma'am, for joining. I'll come to you in a bit. But Mr. Azad, what can we expect tonight? Because just a short while back, Cockroach Party has tweeted visuals of policemen in plain clothes, and they are walking around the area at Jantar Mantar. Now, I don't know. What we are told is apparently all the protesters are going back to Jantar Mantar, but will the police allow? Could there be a major crackdown tonight?
So, yeah, definitely. You see, 4 o'clock, the entire area was cleared with a heavy baton charge, and everyone was thrown out. And what has happened now, as you have also shown, that these are happening in different pockets. People have still not left. They're doing it in metros. Yes. They're doing it in other places. And, my relatives who had joined also, they told me that whichever place they were stopped in the encirclement area, they started protesting there. So you had pockets of support, 100 people here, 150 there. So it was kind of ringed with supports. And this was something which the intelligence or the Delhi police never knew. They thought that they can run it through. Ki chota mota hoga, it's not a big deal and we can take care of it. These are, small time guys, no opposition
because
parties.
The policemen have been used to those 12 years, what they have seen, we'll handle. But they didn't expect that 20th July will be a turning point where they'll have to handle so much.
Neelu, I'm sorry. If I was the police commissioner, I would have done things differently, even at the cost of being kicked out.
Let me hear you out. Let me hear you out. Today, had you been the police officer, how would you have had this kind of a crowd?
I'm here for the discussion now. You ask Mridula ji, and then I'll come back.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let me come to Sarvesh. Sarvesh was there at Jantar Mantar throughout the day, and then I'll go to Mridula ji. Sarvesh, what was your experience? What did you see? And we did see a lot of political leaders also, people from Samajwadi Party, then Aam Aadmi Party. We did see Farooq Abdullah. We saw judges like Justice Kolse Patil also walking in the crowd. What was your experience like?
First of all, a very good evening to everyone present here and the people watching us. Sir was very right when he said it was police did what it was supposed to, but only thing they were supposed to do to start with the minimum force. We dealt with it, and
Absolutely.
RAF was there. They are professional forces, so they're supposed to use minimum force. So water cannons were placed there, but they were never used. The we start when we do riot control. We sir would be knowing better. I have lesser experience than him, but we start with warning, then we move on to the water cannon. Lathi charge is next to uh,
Firing.
firing. So either Pava shells or tear smoke or whatever they used, it was not and electrocution is one thing I have never heard before. It was unprecedented. If it was there, people are saying I cannot vouch for it because I did not experience it for myself. But
No, I
it is
saw
not it is
visuals of
not used.
students. I saw visuals of students who were saying it on their own, that this is
That
what
is
we
what I'm saying now.
what we came across.
That is what I'm saying. But that is not standard operating protocol. That is completely out of it. Clearly it is said it, and they are trained for using minimum force. Whatever was done on ground was not what. That is what sir is saying. Had he been the police commissioner, he would have. Thing is, yesterday one of my uh, sources told that in the meeting they were only talking about the intelligence expected a crowd in the tunes of 20,000 at max. And today, at every Choraha, we had more than 20,000 students or their families. And it was very heartening to see that the most beautiful thing about this movement is totally, and I'm saying it very honestly, totally devoid of any politics. It was completely organic. People there were very organic. We were there to support them, not out of politics, because we were supporting the cause. If it is about education, and what the actual demand they had is restructuring the educational system. And
Yes.
when we want resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, it is symbolic step, the first step of acknowledging that there has been a mistake on their part. And that is very evident when in 2024, the NEET scandal, the NEET scam was done. And that blunder, after that blunder, police took at least around 1 year, if I'm not mistaken, to catch Sanjeev Mukhia, who was the main name behind this, the mastermind behind this in Bihar. So that is the plight. And now when we are talking, it again happened in 2026. What we are doing, we are deploying IAF, we will deploy Mossad, we will deploy FBI, but we will not introspect and see the basic thing that NTA has to be restructured, or the main name behind this. If they want Dharmendra Pradhan to be sacked, what is wrong in it? Sack him. Why is he still there? The only thing the government had to do ab initio was to start the dialogue. Now they are blaming Sonam Wangchuk Saab. They are blaming everyone. I don't care who Ajit Dipke is. I don't even given the credentials. I have no authority to speak. When I speak of Sonam Wangchuk, he's such a name. He's an asset to the country. But still, it was not about him. And today also, when we were on the ground, it was not about Sonam Wangchuk, sir. It was not about Abhijit Dipke. It was not about Sarvesh Tripathi. It
Right.
was about the education itself, their future. We had 16, 17, 18 years old students crying, literally crying. And professionalism, see, when we talk about this 20, 13 years of gap, we didn't have this because this mammoth government we have, this government which can crush anything, any movement at a flicks. So we, be it RAF, be it police, they are not very acquainted this new breed which would be which would have been recruited for last 10 years. They are not aware of actual riot control. They have not seen it. So today I saw in front of my eyes, and sir would have seen the video, someone fired a tear smoke right in the abdomen of one guy, and he collapsed. So this is the level of professionalism we are having. So it is. I have nothing against police. I have nothing against RAF. They'll do whatever they are ordered to. We are trained that way. But when we order at the higher ranks, we would see they were students all around, or elderly people around in 80s 90s on wheelchairs. They were there for the protest, and it was not a protest, they were demanding from their government. उन सबने भी वोट दिया है इनके लिए. एक they're asking for just one thing: accountability. Are you not accountable for this? You are running a government, everyone is. And when we are asking just one thing: to start the procedure to restructure your education. What is wrong in it? And why is it so hard? Your
Right.
arrogance, your ego is bigger than their future. So
All
now
right.
this actually this myth has been unfolded now.
Right. Okay. So let me come to Mridula ma'am now. Mridula ma'am, how do you see this day today? It has shattered the muscularity of Prime Minister Modi, all the tall claims he made, and the way they have been brazening out all the problems in the past. And this also they tried to do. But what next? How will this movement unfold? Given the fact that Abhijit Dipke has already announced that this movement is not ending, Sonam Wangchuk will continue his hunger strike. So what happens now?
I think I would like to first of all, thank you very much for having me on this panel. I welcome this opportunity to express my views on what is obviously a very momentous experience in the life of our country that I think we are going through, and I would say, on the whole, a very welcome change that many people, including me, see it as a big sign of hope
Yeah.
in the possibility of change, and in the possibility of change which involves people in their large numbers, especially the youth. And as we know, most major changes in revolutions, as we call them, in history come about with the youth at the forefront. This was so in our freedom struggle also. In every successive movement of the freedom struggle, whether it was non-cooperation or civil disobedience or quit India movement, those at the front were always people who were in the age group of 17, 18 to 20, 25. The others then come at the different levels, the leadership and all that. So this is a very interesting and important phenomenon from that point of view. And I think, as I said earlier in another program of yours, and what I think both the speakers said before me also, was that this movement is actually much bigger than the leadership or any organization that's involved in it. And this is no criticism of the leadership or of the organization. It is only to emphasize the organic, the word that's been used, organic, as well as, I would say, what is very largely the spontaneous character of the movement. And the reason I'm emphasizing is because that leads us to the next issue, which is that we have to try and understand what's going on in the minds of the young. That's what this movement is telling you, and that's what the young are telling you. They came out onto the streets in that large numbers today to say, listen to us. There's something happening to our lives where we are feeling a desperation. This is not good. Youth is a time of hope. Youth is a time when I remember, when we went through college, and it was a time where you were looking forward, and that was a much poorer country. We never thought that we had a dismal future, because our country was poor and may not have so many opportunities. There was great hope. There was excitement. Today, if you talk to the youth around you, and as I happen to be a teacher. I taught for more than 45 years in JNU, and always keep in touch with my students even now. You can see their desperation. You can see their sense of hopelessness. People ask, why does everybody want to go abroad? They're not all dying to go abroad to spend their parents' money. It's because they see a lack of opportunities. They see the rot in the education system. They see this examination system which has been imposed on them. They have no way out. Either you do a JEE, or you do a NEET, or now you do even to get into a BA history program, you have to do a CUET. You know, And then there are exams before that. In the 12th class, you have exams before that in the 10th class. I mean, kids from the age of 12, 13 cannot be allowed to play. They can't take interest in music. They can't take interest in sports. They're all forced into this horrible system so that by the time they become 18, 19, 20, all they can think of is I have to sit the next exam. And when that exam crashes, please let's understand it's not just a sense of moral outrage at the cheating. It's what that when that exam fails, when the leakage occurs and they have to do another one. It's that total sense of desperation which they are expressing to you. We can't, they're saying we can't take it anymore. Listen to us, you know. And I think what is important is, and this always happens, it is always through a prism of your own experience that you begin to experience the whole. I think what is important is that these young people who, through their own experience of the education system, have begun to understand the whole system. You never tried, I can understand something, only intellectually as the whole. So they've begun to understand that this is because there is problems with the whole democratic framework. It's the attack on the whole because they are now seeing no dialogue. What they came with hope. The government will talk to them. No, this is a nice, nice benign government. It's a nice benign prime minister. He talks to us. He does man ki baat. He tells us how to sit for our exams. If we go and tell them that this is something wrong, they will. And here they find a government which is like a wall. There's no give. There's no one to even come and do the pretense of talking. So what do you understand? This government is not democratic. So there are therefore very serious implications of this movement, long-term implications. How it will play out, those are things that will happen in the future. It's for all of us to see it, for all of the political groups and civil society to play their role at this very crucial juncture. But it's like they say, when there is a tide, if you take that tide and you go with it, then that's how, changes come.
Absolutely. All right. So let me come to Pushpraj. Pushpraj, what's going to really change after 20th July? And how should the opposition parties now synergize and, channelize this entire energy? Because all the youths, they still haven't returned. Most of them are in and around. And as Cockroach Party has just announced that they are not ending the hunger strike. So what happens now?
No, they've ended. The hunger strike is over.
No, that's
There's
what
no
I...
hunger strike anymore. No.
Sonam Wangchuk appealed, and so
Only
Dipke.
Sonam Wangchuk is on
Okay.
is on a fast.
Is on a hunger strike, but he appealed Dipke to...
He appealed Dipke to keep the
Dipke
leadership
gave it up in the
intact.
morning
Okay.
on appeal
Okay.
from Sonam. Yeah.
Okay. So
And
that must be the
the
latest
other
plan.
students have also given it up.
Okay. Yes, Pushpraj. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening to you, Neeluji, the panelists and our viewers. See, I mirror the views of both Mridula ma'am and Jha sir, as of course Sarvesh also. The student and youth protest clearly proves that the power of the people is far greater than the people in power. Now, whether it is CJP's parliamentary march or leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi's Chhatron ki Goonj in 100 cities, to quote Nehru, the soul of a nation long suppressed has finally found its strength. The protest is clearly no longer about CJP or Congress or any individual. It is now about systemic issues that have been plaguing India for the last decade. And it also includes a huge anti-incumbency, anti-Modi wave. Secondly, the BJP government has completely forgotten Article 19(1)A and Article 19(1)B of India's constitution, which guarantee the right to dissent and protest. Numerous Supreme Court judgments have upheld this.
Yeah.
I mean, consider what they did today. Jha sir said this today. They cancelled permissions for Rahul Gandhi's Dehradun rally. They closed metro stations in Delhi. The CRPF blockaded roads. The RAF is firing tear gas. I mean, Sarvesh is very emotive and searing a testimony about someone firing a tear gas in someone's stomach. It's horrendous. And plus, the Delhi police is lathi charging people who are as young as 14, 15, 16 years of age. Is this the world's largest democracy, as Prime Minister Modi loves to trumpet every time he goes abroad? Is this a government of, by, and for the people? Now, they need to understand, the BJP government needs to understand that voicing dissent and wanting a better India is not anti-national. Because if demanding better education or meaningful jobs or the right to a home or clean air and water or civic freedoms is anti-national, it makes every parent and citizen and grandparent an anti-national. Because we all want a better life for our children and grandchildren. The BJP really needs to get over this l'état c'est moi attitude that, the state and the nation, it is I. It is not. Thirdly, it is very clear that the BJP just doesn't feel it's accountable to us, given how imperiously Prime Minister Modi behaved outside and inside Parliament. It's a classic case of Nero fiddling as Rome burned. Similarly, they would have not injured the 60 Indians who are now admitted in RML hospital, including the 2 very critical people. Similarly, after 25 days, they wouldn't have sent the health minister to meet protesters demanding structural reforms in the education system. And let's not forget that the BJP is refusing to meet with the sitting chief minister of Jammu Kashmir, who is sitting on protest on Jantar Mantar for demanding state food for Jammu Kashmir. The BJP is also not meeting the protesters who are protesting against the Ken Bedwa project. Similarly, the Shakti Peeth protest in Maharashtra, the ecological protests in Uttarakhand, and countless other protests that Muslims, Adivasis, and OBCs lead every day, but the BJP ignores it for obvious reasons. Which is why, to answer your question, both the India parties and CJP must collectively and unitedly experiment with disruptive tactics. This includes ensuring the movement spreads to every city and village in India. That is why I would strongly urge, if anyone is listening, that the India parties need to set up a secretariat within themselves to coordinate with political forces internally and with non-political forces externally. This is essential. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting divisions across. Finally, I want to make a structural point. These protests happened because the nation's youth demanded fair examinations, which is the bedrock of a meritorious society. This is something that is deeply antithetical to the BJP's ideology, which is why, Neeluji, the RSS, which claims it is the vanguard of India's culture and spirit, it has not deployed the VHP or the Bajrang Dal or the ABVP or any of its countless organizations to question the BJP government on the paper leaks or the rot in the education system. This is from an organization which claims that it is independent of the BJP. It is clear that these organizations speak up and act only when there is a communal or caste angle involved. And one last small point. We need to ask the same question from the Godi media. I'm sorry I keep using that phrase, but I can't think of anything else anymore. I made it a point today to flip through every legacy media in the afternoon, which I never do. None of them showed the reality of the protest. Many claim that it was the students who were and youngsters who were attacking the police. I mean, there was a question of the stones. Last night, the CJP put out social media tweets talking about the fact that a truck has suddenly arrived from the Delhi police, which is positioning stones at Jantar Mantar. I mean, we all see what is happening on social media. Do you really think that this is like a post-truth world where we don't know what is happening? I mean, if they continue behaving like this, the Noida media is beginning to dig its own grave. It will just become completely irrelevant. No one will watch them for what they're doing.
Already relevant.
So let me just take quick concluding comments from Mr. Azad and Mridula ma'am. Mr. Azad, what would you really like to say towards the end? Very briefly.
I would certainly say that the government, it's time that the government wakes up. It is in their interest to start a dialogue because, as both Mridulaji and Pushparaj has made some very, very important points. I mean, you have to be accountable to the people, right? And what are these people talking about? These youngsters, as Mridulaji said, they're talking about their future. They're talking about education. They're talking about the lapses. One exam after the other exam and the paper leaks. We have spoken extensively on NEET and CBSE lapses. Nobody, even the IS officers who were involved with this were later promoted, and one of them is this special secretary to the chief minister. So this youngster, when he sees that this is the fate of ours, then what do? And the very important point which Mridulaji said, why does a youngster want to go for a course abroad, which is also available here? Because the course is useless and there is nobody, doing anything about his job. A B.Tech from Kanpur, the guy who came first, committed a suicide, writing a letter that, "Kehte hain, Papa, Ma, I'm useless because I'm not getting a job." But doesn't it, hurt the conscience of the government? So it's time. But the second thing which is important, which Pushparaj said, and I totally agree with him, because, now the time there is a thing called Article 19 and 19A. There is a question of freedom of expression. That is why the Sedition Act was removed by the Supreme Court, that the criticism of the government is not the criticism of the nation. So here is a time now that if it does not listen to 60 to 70% of the people who may not have voted for them, then it's time for all the opposition parties and the non-political people to come on a front and demand the legitimate things from the government, which is their right. And that should be done.
Right. Yes, Mridula ma'am, to you, and then we'll end the show.
Well, I do want to talk about the police action. I think the unnecessary force that was used today, and all these very disturbing reports coming about the stones being found. I saw the videos myself, stones on the road, and we know that these students, these kids were not carrying them. So, how and where did they come? Why were they there with all the chappals and the way in which those, it was very heart-rending to see the way those shoes and chappals and some dupatta and personal belongings, bags were lying strewn across. Obviously, it was not just a force or a threat of force that was being used, or as they said, as the Godi media said, mild force. I love that word.
Mild lathi charge.
Yeah,
How can
mild
lathi
lathi
charge
charge.
be mild?
I mean, I'd like to know what is a mild lathi charge. Maybe Mr. Jha, Azad can enlighten us as to, the different grades of force
I
used
can't.
when you wield a lathi, a mild kind of like, it was like a very polite, benign kind of little spanking by the grandparent, to discipline a child. I mean, no, that was much. We saw what was happening. Now with all these very young reporters, I must say I admire them, young women and men, right in the thick of everything. They are there, they are questioning the police, they're saying, these people are saying there was current in this, you will answer us. They were right there documenting everything. I think when all that footage is put together, it's a very sorry thing. And I think a new issue that emerges out of what happened today is the protest, which we must make, all of us and society, against the police action, the manner in which it was done against these excessive use of force, which was quite unnecessary. Apart from, of course, the way I think Sonam Wanchuk's treatment also, in terms of the illegal detention, in the name of looking after his health and saving his life, they have no business doing what they are doing. If they want to arrest him, arrest him. All right, you have the law, no? You arrest him and put him in a hospital. Don't pretend that you're doing this. And I think this is actually ridiculous. So I think there must be a strong reaction against the way these young people have been treated in terms of the force that has been used on them, the beating. And it's also, I could see many of those kids, they never came expecting that. They had seen the visuals of the Jantar Mantar protest. What had they seen? Dhapli, music, people coming and reciting poetry, these people lying over there quietly on a hunger strike. That's what they came to join, no? They did not at all anticipate that this is the kind of, it's
Right.
like a you grow up in minutes, it's a totally new experience, and I wonder
I think Pushparaj
how
is
they're
wanting
going
to make
to
a point.
process all.
Yeah. I think Pushparaj wanted to make a point and then we'll end the program. Yes, very quickly, Pushparaj.
I just got a message from one of these protesters who was there, one of the student leaders. He's saying that, sir, हम तो ठीक-ठाक education system ही मांग रहे थे, हमें terrorist की तरह क्यों treat किया जा रहा है? I mean, what do you say to people when they are saying this? बच्चे क्यों है?
I just add one half a line.
Yes,
Since
ma'am.
I'm
Yes,
from JNU, and the way JNU's been sort of bad mouthed now for so many years, and our students, whenever they used to go on a protest, now, of course, they are not allowed now to take out any rally or procession. But there was a time when they were. But in the beginning, they would still always, it was justified, the repression on them, because they're leftists. It was almost like they're anti-national. So you assume that the students must have indulged in violence and deserve it. Now here you can't even say that. These, as I said, these are all very, very young kids, most of them, who had come. And also, if you saw the social profile of the people, the class profile, people coming from very underprivileged backgrounds and coming from small towns all over North India. I wonder if you noticed that. So there was a peculiar quality, character of this. It was not just young college-going kids from Delhi colleges that were coming. They were there, but there was also a completely different class of young people who were there. But very vocal, very assertive, very conscious. I was very impressed by many of them who were speaking out. They were being interviewed by a whole range of journalists. I was very impressed by their level of understanding and articulation and confidence. So it's a generation we have to watch out for. You know?
What happens tomorrow, we'll have to wait and watch. And more importantly, what could happen tonight if there is a major crackdown. Thank you so much, Mridula ma'am, Mr. Azad, Pushpraj. Thank you very much for joining.